What is up, guys? Tech Asian back here again today on this lovely Saturday morning and Sunday morning, I think. I don't know. I forgot the day already. Jeez, not a good start. But let's get started right away. Today we're learning more Python and it's more strings. So let's get started. Alrighty, so we're gonna open a new file today again. This should be pretty standard as always, so we can call it strings.py. And yeah, so we're just gonna start typing these strings. So yesterday we learned about how strings, just like the basics of strings, and more variables. So we learned like the specifics and just like the basics actually, and how it works and how you had to put parentheses around your specific, if you're using more than one string or uh, one variable inside there. And so today we're going to go into more depth and view how you can do more with strings. And there's like a different notation today as well. So starting right off the bat, we're going to set a variable. Always start with setting your variables at the top of your code, just so I tend to have all my variables at the top, just so you get all your variables out of the way. But of course, you can write them later on in the code if you're only using it in a particular section. But it's just easier to find code variables that you use throughout if they're all at the top, so you know where they are. So there are %d types of people. And note that right here, what I'm doing, right? You can actually set a variable with a string in it, which is pretty cool. So we did not learn that yesterday, so that's something new. But then you can also set variables as strings. So like right there, this is binary is now a string. That stands for binary. And then let's say do underscore not equals do not, obviously, okay? Or equals don't. We're gonna make this a contraction, just so it's simpler. Let's see, what else? Y equals those who know %s. So in this case, we're not having them exactly in the print statement. We're having them in the variables, which honestly might be better or might be cleaner, but it's just so if you wanted to edit your variables and later on it reflect in that print statement, so your print statements look easier. But I don't feel like that's the right move, but you know, it's just a lesson, so let's get this started. But this is also something that's good. So say that I want to change these variables out later, these strings, I wouldn't have to go to the bottom per se, or like these strings, I can reset the values just right here, whatever I put in here. So like say right now it's binary and the variable do not, or the string do not. But say I wanted to change this out later on, then I would just have to change it in here and I wouldn't have to go into the print statement and have to change it that way. But yeah, let's do a print statement now. Print x, print y, and then print I said, and then remember the string, the formatting string %r from that chart. We'll go back to it. We'll refer back to it. And right here, the R is a debugging format. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't really matter what %r can stand for anything. So like it can mean %s or %d. But when you're debugging, so when you're testing your code, that's what you want to do. But like if you're gonna deploy it and have like others use it or users interact with it, you're gonna want to specify if it's like a %d or %s as we were doing yesterday. But yeah, so I said %r period and then %x, and then there's another one. I also said %s, remember the quotes inside a quote. So there's that. Yeah, I forgot my parentheses today. That's kind of bad, not gonna lie. So we're probably gonna need this around here, around here. But honestly, this, yeah, okay. Let's finish typing this. So I said %s, %y, and yeah, so I'm gonna need parentheses around here. Now, yeah, so if you want to hover over things just to make sure they're the right thing, so like what I was doing right now is just checking if this binary, since it didn't change colors, but it still says it's a string, so it's still right and it's correct. So let's keep on moving on. I was just concerned because you can put variables inside variables in this case, because right here y is a variable and you're putting a variable inside a variable. But yeah, but you can see if you hover right here, it tells you that x is a string and y is a string because it has this text in it, so that means it's a string. Alrighty. Hilarious equals false. So right here, since we're setting this a false value, if this was, yeah, it's a Boolean now. So true and Boolean variables are basically variables that only hold true and false values. Those are called Boolean variables, and they're obviously says right here bool. So they're known as Boolean values. So they only hold true and false values. Excuse me. So joke evaluation equals, so this is another string because it holds a text value right here. And then notice in this case we're using %r again. Remember, you don't need to have it as a %r, but in this case, since it is a Boolean value, you can put %r. I'm not sure if there's a different format character for Boolean, so we'll test out if we put %s if it will work later on. But so in this case, it's gonna print joke underscore evaluation percent hilarious. So in this case right here, it's gonna print this string and then percent hilarious. So whatever, since that has a %r and we don't know what the value of that is, this percent hilarious signifies that this value right here, this false value, will be inserted in for this %r. But let's keep on continuing. And WE equals a string with. So remember right here, what we're about to do right here, remember the math characters we were doing the other day, the math operators? You can add strings together. Even though they're not numerical values, they hold the string value. And if you think about it, it's going to insert W here and E there. And since they're not numerical values, they'll just add them up and they'll just put them side by side. So it's just going to make a longer string. It's going to print a longer string. But now if we run it, we should see, let's analyze this print x. So it's going to print this thing first, and there's a 10 value right here. So it's going to print 10 in there. Did it debug? I'm not sure. Right here. All right. And then the next part is going to print y. So what it's going to do is those who do not know %s, in this case, it's going to print the binary string in this place. So binary, those who know binary and those who don't. And then isn't that joke funny right here? And then it has a, wait, it says, I also said %x. So it's going to repeat itself. So and then it's going to say, isn't that joke funny? And then in this case right here, you're going to have false. So it's right there. And then you see it added the strings together. So yeah, that's how you do it. And also, some of the different things, you can also percent %r instead of %s in this case right here, up here too. So %r can signify like any variable. So like if I run this again, my print y should still say the same thing. Yeah, so it still does, but just note that if you want, it's better to be more specific and specify whether or not it should be a string. So remember how I was saying, going back to joke evaluation and trying to say it's a string in this case, instead of just using %r, now if we run, it should give us it still shouldn't change. Yep, it does not change right there. So, yeah, pretty simple stuff today. It's not too complicated. Let's see what time we have, how long we've been going. So if there's more time, I might just keep on going. We're 11 minutes in. I'll just cut this short for today, and we'll make another video tomorrow where we're going to put all the things we've learned since the last few days all together and do a whole bunch of print statements and how to specifically use print. I know this is pretty easy stuff, and we haven't gone into much like gaming maybe or creating a specific program, but that's just part of learning this code, and we're going to take it one day at a time. But it's better to learn slower than say trying to learn this all in like learning Python in like 15 minutes, because you're not going to get all the details. Taking a slower and in-depth analysis is where it's going to be at. But yeah, that's all for today, I guess. Let's see. Regarding the Boolean values again, and what I was kind of talking about is, you can also like write a function just saying like what if I created another variable. We'll go more in depth into Boolean variables, but if I say I equals t plus t minus v and t equals 15, v equals 4 per se, and then I said that hilarious, if you started writing if then statements, which we'll go into later on, but like you could say that when I is less than like say 10, and these variable like say t and v can change, right? If like say I is lower than a specific number, then this can be false, or else it equals true. So that's how Boolean variables work. It can only equal false or true. You can't state another thing if it is a Boolean. But obviously in this case, you don't have to specify whether it's a Boolean or integer or anything. So if I just changed it into like a different word, like if I put just random letters in, it's gonna say it's a string now instead of a Boolean variable. But yeah, so that's why it can hold just like true, and you don't have to put quotes around it, because if you put quotes around it, it's gonna be a string again. But if you don't put quotation marks around it, it's gonna be a Boolean value. But yeah, also right here, I forgot to specify t and v before. I forgot to specify t and v before I said I equals t minus v, because Python does read from top to bottom, so it does read in sequential order, so it's gonna say it's an error right there. But yeah, so now if the joke is funny, it's gonna be true, so it would print out true in this case if I were to run it again. But yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next one. Peace.